Hi guys, Karis here, and I would like to talk to you today about how to choose a tarot deck. And this also goes for oracle card decks, but oracle card decks and tarot decks I find to be very different because oracle cards, honestly, in a lot of ways, I find them to be easier to use, and that's usually what I've used. I've only just gotten into tarot very recently, hence the class I'm teaching, which is Learning Tarot Together, because I'm kind of sharing it as I'm learning it and hoping that we learn together. So, the thing about oracle cards is that they're really great if you have a set of guides that fall into the level of the oracles. So say you get a fairy deck because you have a lot of strong guides, or you have a connection to mermaids and you get a mermaid deck or a dragon deck or whatever it is, and it's oracle cards. And so you don't have things like the suits of wands, pentacles, swords, and cups. You have cards like new beginnings and romance and dark night of the soul and whatever, cards that in themselves, in the images and in themselves, just tell you the whole situation. And that's oracle cards. Tarot cards are all from kind of the same mystical tradition that was originally Kabbalah, and they are dealing with certain archetypal forces in reality that are represented in everything. So you can go super deep with it, or you can take them more at face value. But in picking both of these decks, whether it's oracle cards or tarot cards, it's important to do what calls to you. And so, for instance, this is the first tarot deck that I've ever been able to use well. Tarot has always worked for me, but it would tell me stuff that I already knew and that wasn't really helpful to my situation. Now, if somebody else gave me a tarot reading, then I would be benefited by it. But when I would do one, it's kind of like me trying to use pendulums. Pendulums don't work for me either. They just give me lots of sticky answers, and it's like they're annoyed with me saying, Karis, why are you asking the pendulum? Just figure it out yourself using your intuition and stop using a middleman. But I know a lot of people who use pendulums great. So it's really just whatever works for you. And I was not planning on getting an oracle deck or a tarot deck. But when I was in Salem last month for the grid work I was doing there, and also I was there for my birthday, which is the day before Beltane, which is an ancient earth religion celebration of springtime, new beginnings, awakenings, fertility, stuff like that. I went in and multidimensionally I put on this whole regalia thing because I wanted to kind of go in obviously. I didn't want to go in under the radar energetically. I wanted to go and have some parlay, have some conversations with the beings there openly and talk to them openly. So as I was driving up, I meditated and put on this whole regalia, right? Very specific, very interesting clothing. I didn't judge it ahead of time or even plan it ahead of time. It just kind of came to me as I was doing this exercise. And so I went and I did my work, and I had the crazy experiences and stuff, some of which I have posted about in other videos. And then after I was done, I went to a bookstore because I thought, hey, tomorrow's my birthday, I'm going to get myself a present, let's see what there is, maybe I'll get some crystals, I don't know. And I'm kind of going through the books, and I found a tarot deck. And on the cover of the tarot deck, there was a woman wearing the outfit that I had just made up in the astrals. And I'll show it to you. So, that is the outfit. And that's what she was wearing. And then the name of the deck is one that's pretty triggery, but it's called the Tarot Illuminati. And I knew right away because I had been thinking a lot about the Illuminati and the Cabal and those groups lately anyway. And so I knew it was a huge sign, so I got it. And since I've gotten it, it's hugely activating. And I'm going to come back to that in a second about the whole Illuminati meme, okay? And I know it's a very complicated subject. Not everybody's going to agree with this, and that's okay. So, when you're picking an oracle deck, I would recommend that you not get one on the internet unless you see it and it absolutely jolts you and it absolutely feels connected to you. Because when I've tried to get them on the internet before, when I've looked at a couple images, or even when I've tried to get them from a bookstore but not been able to actually flip through the deck, there might have been one or two images that stood out, but then I got it and took it home and the rest of them didn't resonate with me, and so it just ended up sitting on my shelf and I never used it. So what I would recommend is that you go to a bookstore or a New Age store or whatever and flip through the oracle deck or the tarot deck that you want and pick the one that resonates with you and that you can also kind of understand just by looking at it. So it's good to study and it's good to go deep, but also you don't want to have to study for months and months before you can use the thing that you got. And human intuition is the strongest force that binds our universe together. It's all intuition, so human intuition, and we're conscious creative beings. We should be able to kind of divine whatever we need from that. So if you feel totally lost, get one that you feel empowered with when you get it. And now about the Illuminati thing. So I've talked about this some before, but once you realize that the universe is something that you are creating, so if you're someone who doesn't believe that the universe is something that you create, if you don't believe the law of attraction and creation, then this won't resonate with you, and that's all right. But if you believe the universe is something that you're creating, and then you find out about a group of people who are supposedly controlling everything, but you create what you experience, why are you afraid of that? Okay, right? I mean, granted, there might be people controlling the economics and stuff like that, but in that paradigm, which is what we were born into, those of us in Western civilization or culture, that doesn't mean that your personal experience is controlled by anybody other than you. And so it's kind of like speaking English. Somebody made up the English language, but I don't see myself as being tyrannized by the English language. Yes, maybe I can't speak things as beautifully or clearly as I could in another language. Probably there are lots of dead languages that I could speak better in than this one. I probably get tripped up by English all the time, but I don't really know, and I don't gripe about it, and I don't think, oh, poor me, because English is limiting, right? You just roll with what you've got and you create the most beautiful thing you can. You keep moving up and up and up. And the reason that I even got on this kick in the first place was because as I have really been unpacking the divine feminine energy on this planet and also trying to emit the best I can out of myself, divine feminine energy, as every single human can, more women, it's easier because we're mostly feminine, but men have divine feminine energies too. It's all archetypal. It's all within us. I started noticing certain people in the world, artists, things like that, who I felt activated by and I felt inspired by, but then other people would say they're Illuminati. They have lots of codes in their music that are meant to keep us down. And I thought, well, when I scan these people, I just feel divine feminine and I feel empowerment. I feel empowered when I listen to their stuff or when I watch them perform. So then that got me really thinking about what is this thing? What is this thing with Illuminati, with Cabal? What is it? Why are we giving up our power to something outside of ourselves? And I do know there's a huge victim warrior consciousness. Many people are kind of afraid of our own power, so we feel like the only way you can let it out is if we have a villain to fight against. But I, for one, don't want to live in that world. I, for one, want to be able to be powerful whenever I damn well please. And not in a way that is someone vying for power. So what I think happens, because this has happened personally to me, is that when someone steps into their power and starts to spread, and even if you look at everyone around you and you're like, come with me, come up with me, let's all be powerful together, not over anybody else, just creating the most awesome experience we can create for ourselves, and also spreading out abundance and amazingness and joy and fun everywhere that we can. As you move up and as you spread out, if there are other people who aren't ready to do that, and that's okay, everybody goes on their own pace. But if there are other people around you who don't want that, who aren't ready to step into power, who don't feel like they're prepared, who maybe have some insecurities that they need to work out, they'll see you go up and spread out, and they'll see it like you're trying to be over them, like you're trying to diminish them, even though you're not. And I know a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about here. If someone says, you're trying to put me down, and you go, what? Never in my mind was I thinking about putting you down. I was saying actually how great you were. But that's a huge trigger, is empowered people for people who aren't feeling empowered. And so I personally think that what the word Illuminati actually means, is illuminate, to illuminate, those who keep consciousness. And I think that it's people who remembered how to manifest in 3D. Now, I don't know this personally. I've never spoken to anyone in this crew, and actually I've found that any of the research I've done on them is never from someone who was actually in it. It's always from people studying it and looking at it from the outside. So how can we say what's going on? But I think that when the world schismed and had to do the good-evil thing in order to get us the codes that we need to have in order to be conscious creators, good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil is how you'll become like the gods, right? Not one god, but the gods. Genesis, it's crazy. Lots of people don't read it that closely. So when we had to figure that out, those who would keep the knowledge of how to bring physical matter from conscious energy and just create would have been the tyrants. They had to be, because they were the ones who knew how to have the stuff. So when the schism happened, the tyrants would have been the one that kept the knowledge. So it's easy to see how those who started off good then could flip in that paradigm when that paradigm had to happen. It just makes sense. But now, I think that a whole new tribe is arising, and that every single one of us are that, because we're creating what we're doing. And as we consciously know it, this place where I am in Sedona is a very clear manifestation. I just manifested it. I wrote a list. It took a while, and it took me going through some blocks and having some difficult experiences to do it, because I had my own things that were keeping me from receiving what I wanted. But it's when you manifest a place that's obviously just something that you made up, nobody can convince you that you can't do it. And then all of the ways you might feel disempowered and put upon by the world around you, you can't pretend that anymore, because it's just obvious that you can make whatever you want. And also, if you have the intention to spread all the amazingness you get, my goal is to become a source vortex in myself. So spread out amazing energy everywhere I go, harmonization, fractal patterns. And so when that's your goal, the bigger that your aura gets and the more resources energetically and physically that you can wield, the greater of a blessing you are. And you're not taking from anything else, because you're bringing it from source. You're not taking it from a non-renewable resource. You're taking it from complete free energy that by its nature grows and fractals out. So that's my thought on how to pick a tarot deck and the new Illuminati and reclaiming our power as divine beings. So to close out, I would like to invite you guys to join my Learning Tarot Together class. And also, this particular deck, they say several times that this is not about any secret societies. This is not about, people controlling other people. This is the real word for Illuminati, which is to illuminate, to bring light, to become let's see, what does it say? The Tarot Illuminati contains in essence within it the light of illumination, realization, and truth. So, if you're feeling afraid of something like that, that's because you're forgetting that you are the creator of your own experience. So just remember that and get used to it. I know it's hard at first, but if you practice, it happens and it's amazing. So a card that I'll pull for you guys is the Seven of Pentacles. I really like this card. I've meant to look more about it, but I haven't gotten around to it. And by the way, on Saturday, this Sunday, for those of you in my Learn Tarot Together class, I'm doing a live Google Hangout for talking about the timing of tarot. So if you're looking for predictions, different suits will give you different lengths of time. Like some of them will be days to weeks, some of them will be months or whatever. So it's a nice way to judge what you're doing. Okay, Seven of Pentacles, the waiting game. This is for all you guys watching this, then I'll close out. What can be more wonderful than finding yourself immersed in the diligent tending of your crops and plants, paying attention to all their needs and stages of growth, and watching as they sprout from seed to bud to flower to fruit? Are we not privileged if we can see, witness the growth of our lives from start to finish, every step of the way? Pay close attention then. Play close attention then works too, because the real beauty is in the detail. The results may be a long time in coming, but how sweet they are then. Do not spend your precious time bemoaning the lack of immediate result. Be certain in the virtue and quality of your labor. Be patient and tread carefully. More haste, less speed, friend. It is not a race to the finish line. Themes and concepts: patience, slow progress, watching things grow, delayed results, paying attention to detail, diligence and hard work. More haste means less speed. Awaiting an end result, tending to your daily life, and waiting. And so I think that's a good match for this, for those of us who are trying to become conscious creators, trying to become the Illuminati of our own realities. And, I think it can be a beautiful word. I don't think it's something to be afraid of. I think that as many of the things go, if our world has been like that for so long, and we're here, then what is there ever to be afraid of? If scary things happen, you just deal with it and move on, but you also have created them. So, in closing, I'd like to give you guys a view of the rose bushes here, and also to encourage you that if you are joining my class, to get yourself a notebook. I'll talk more about that later. I might post a little video because I plan on getting mine today. So check out these beautiful roses. I love them. They smell amazing too, and I swear when I come out here, more of them have bloomed each day. All right, guys. So go in peace. Have a beautiful weekend. I am going to visit Angel Valley in Sedona today because I'm planning on doing a workshop there in July, if I can set it up in time, so more info on that very soon. Much love, and I will see you on the astrals.